Welcome back to Let's Play Resident Evil 4 here at Trippy Commentaries. We are going to enter this creepy house. Let's see what we find. I'm RJ. Corey is joining along as always. C-Dub, it appears as if we have some sort of puzzle.
Oh boy, much as is tradition in the Resident Evil games, looks like we've got a large crystal ball that rotates here.
This is a pretty damn obvious puzzle. There we go. We have figured it out. It is the, I think it's the Los Illuminados logo or something like that. Here's a picture of Elliot Sadler. I think his first name is Elliot. I could be wrong about that. Very creepy.
That's Lord Sadler to you, RJ.
Lord Sadler, of course. The man who injected us. How could I forget? Alright, what do we have here? Oh, we found the chief's note, C-Dub.
Let's see what he has to say.
Lord Sadler instructed them. Wait a minute. Why keep him alive? Didn't they try to kill us? They were going to decapitate us.
I think this might be in reference to us, RJ.
I think it is. Wait a minute. They know Luis. Interesting. This could be bad, C-Dub. Perhaps Luis is an enemy.
We're going to have to get a little bit further along in our adventure, and maybe we'll see his true colors. I don't know. Either way, I know if he gets out of line, we're going to have to take him down.
Yeah, there's a very memorable part of the game where we will meet up with Luis once again, and that shouldn't be too far away. The Lord. It's the Lord's call. Well, they trust his judgment. Interesting. The one guy that Lord Sadler reminds me of, Corey, I don't know if you could tell by looking at this picture, but he looks a little bit like Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, there's certainly a resemblance there as far as the hood. They're both certainly imposing individuals, perhaps charismatic leaders of some sort. This Sadler guy, though, man, he seems like he's pretty dangerous, and we're gonna have to take his ass out.
All right, let's go ahead and leave the house. I'm sure we have nothing to worry about. What is this, a cutscene? The hell is that? Somebody's talking. Oh, damn it. This could be game over for us, Corey.
Oh boy,
What
this
the
guy
hell?
does not look happy. You know, he looks like he might be possibly one of the members of the Bray Wyatt family. For any of our fans of WWE and our Raw reactions videos out there.
Yeah, if you guys are wrestling fans, definitely check that out. So, he's not going to kill us. We have the same blood as them. That must have something to do with the injection that we received. We have finished chapter 1-2, so you can see the picture of the cemetery there. Let's go ahead and make our way there, as we have some more medallions to find, and pretty interesting here, as the chief did not kill us. New info from Hunnigan.
Apparently, there's a religious cult group involved. They're called the Los Illuminados.
Ah, damn it.
I knew it.
Anyway, I had an unexpected run-in with the big cheese of this village.
But you're okay, right?
Yeah. He could have killed me, but he let me live. And he mentioned something about me carrying the same blood as them. Whatever that means.
Carry the same blood.
You can tell in his appearance, he definitely looks a little bit different than he did at the beginning of the game. So that injection is certainly having a change of appearance for him, doing something. Some magic herb was hidden in this cupboard here. Whoa, here's an interesting picture. Looks like that's the big cheese himself right there.
Yeah.
He definitely certainly could be a pro wrestler, Corey. I see where you're making that correlation to the Wyatt family. Is the guy is huge. Now, apparently the backstory for him is pretty crazy. I don't totally remember it, but I know he was, I think he was like a Christian, he might have been a priest or something. I don't know. But definitely has a crazy storyline before this whole Los Illuminados thing took him over and made him the leader of the village. But this is a pretty cool area, Corey. It seems like for at least a small portion of the game. Oh, damn it. There was a guy hiding in the bathroom. Should have saw it coming. But at least for a small portion of the game, we kind of get to explore a house. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it definitely gave me a flashback as we came down those stairs there. It's very similar to the mansion almost. It's like a short little nod to the perhaps to the older Resident Evils, which were based more on one large interior like a house, or of course the infamous Raccoon City Police Department.
Yes. There's some other areas that we will visit much later on in the game that also remind me of Resident Evil 2 and a little bit of the Resident Evil 1 remake. So we'll definitely be heading there eventually. But kind of a cool thing how they have the zombie in the bathroom. That's another thing, like Corey said, where I think it's a slight nod. Oh, nice, an egg. Slight nod to the classic series. I do not see anything else in this house. Let me use this egg as that guy in the bathroom fucked us up a little bit there. We have plenty of fish, so I probably should have used that now that I think about it. We need to eat those as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and do one last final check. I think we got everything in the house here. I think you can possibly backtrack. Yes, another cutscene shows up. Oh, here he is again. Has he changed his mind about not killing us?
Oh boy.
What the hell? Looks like a sexy looking female. For those of you who are fans of the Resident Evil series, you might recognize her. That is Ada Wong.
Yes, I am very familiar with Ada, as is our pal Leon here. Of course, Resident Evil 2, they had quite a bit of interaction. Wondering what does Ada have to do with this whole Los Illuminados thing? I mean, usually whenever stuff's really starting to go bad, whenever the proverbial shit is hitting the fan, Ada is always around and having something to do with it, man. She is a very troublesome woman.
Yeah, pretty convenient for her to show back up in this game. There is a side storyline that you can play, which is pretty cool because it's basically like, a whole new game with the same controls featuring Ada. It's not, oh fuck. It's not quite as good as the main storyline in my opinion, but certainly pretty cool. Let's go ahead and try to knife old chainsaw guy a couple times here. At some point, I suppose we will have to show off a chainsaw death C-dub. I don't want to willingly do it, but I'm assuming that eventually it will happen. So I probably should just go with the flow, and eventually I will die because we have to show that off. The chainsaw deaths are pretty epic.
Yeah, most definitely. And as you touched on earlier, I too was very surprised with this game being released on the GameCube at how violent it is, because like you said in the past, I mean, Nintendo took a huge stand against blood, violence, all that stuff as far back as the very first Mortal Kombat. Of course, whenever you punch your opponents or do a fatality, you don't get any blood. There's like dust or sweat. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but that was certainly a point of controversy back in the day. And it's been a stand that Nintendo took for a long time. We did see Resident Evil 4 also released on the Wii, so I feel like that's something maybe that they have in these recent few years. They've sort of leaned, or rather, become more lenient in their stance against the whole violence in video games.
Yeah, I think they had no choice just because the PlayStation and Xbox had overtaken them as far as popularity. And one of the reasons why is because of games like Grand Theft Auto that were extremely violent. Unfortunately, as a society, we kind of like to play those games. I mean, I'll admit it. I love Grand Theft Auto. I love the deadly antics that you can get into in that game. There's something satisfying about it in a weird way, and it's certainly something that Nintendo was not about at all. I mean, we played Nintendo for The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, where they were basically playable cartoons in a way. For people who aren't big video game players, they might not even be able to tell the difference between some video games and a cartoon. Nowadays, things are much more realistic. This game just looks so realistic. In one aspect, it looks like a painting, but another aspect, it does have a bit of realism to it, especially because none of these guys are proven to be zombies right now. They're pretty much just human. Maybe they're hypnotized or some sort of brainwashed slave. But definitely a hint of realism to these games, and this might be the very first one, unless there's one that I could think of, that was released on a Nintendo console. I mean, this was it. This was the huge release. It was a Nintendo exclusive when it first came out. There was a lot of hype behind it, and people talked about this game for a long, long time before it was actually released. In fact, when it was first announced, I think it was in the standard perspective that the other Resident Evils had, but eventually they did decide to change it. One thing I will mention, as we've made it back into the village, it looks like some more people have come here. But one thing I will mention, Corey, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Devil May Cry was the original Resident Evil 4. But it turned out it was just so far removed from the other Resident Evils that they had to turn it into a different franchise altogether. And it's kind of funny because when they made a new Resident Evil 4, once again, they still ended up changing it quite a bit. But did you know that, man?
Yeah, I did know that. That's a bit of trivia that I had read originally, not too long ago. Devil May Cry is a series that I've never actually played whatsoever. So at some point, I'm definitely going to go back and check that out. At the very least, the original, to kind of figure out, what was it that was so different about it that made them change. And I mean, as we've touched on before, there are a lot of differences in this game compared to the previous three Resident Evils. But at the same time, I mean, it feels like a Resident Evil game. It's really raw, organic. I mean, like you said, it almost looks like a painting. It's a very natural looking game, and it certainly has that grimy feel, that grit to it. Once you get immersed in it, it's one of those little small details that really helps players like us just be completely immersed and lost in a game. And I think that the best games definitely capture that as much as they can. I feel like this is one of them that does.
That's a great point, C-Dub. I agree 100% as far as I feel like all of the environments in this game feel like true Resident Evil environments. I feel like all of these areas would be a perfect place to explore with the old school play style. And I think something we might eventually disagree on when we play through Resident Evil 5 is I really wasn't getting those vibes at all from Resident Evil 5. I mean, everything was so bright, it wasn't even at nighttime. A lot of it was in the middle of the day with the sun beating down, and I think, of course, it took place in Africa. So to me, that didn't really feel like Resident Evil-like environments, whereas this game felt completely like something that was well at home in the series. Do you agree with that? What did you think about the environments in RE5?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent. I feel like in Resident Evil 5, of course, with the setting being in Africa, I feel like some of the parts of it are really good like this. Really raw and natural, environments. They kind of give you that sense of isolation and remoteness as far as where you are and that there's no help coming for you. Um, but yeah, I feel like Resident Evil 5 kind of took this and ramped up the almost the action movie factor. Maybe, of course, you go onto the big ships. The one of the last levels, actually, I believe it's the first level of the last chapter, if I'm not mistaken. You're on a big ship, and that's one of my favorite levels in the game. But at that point, it definitely felt pretty far removed from a Resident Evil game. And RJ, I was just sitting here thinking about a previous comment that you had made that perhaps Resident Evil 4 was the first Resident Evil to get released on a Nintendo console. And I do remember that there was a port, I guess, of Resident Evil 2 onto the Nintendo 64. Was certainly a bit different. They had a funny feature in that version where you could change the color of the blood to, I think, blue and green, which was definitely a pretty funny little exclusive there to the Nintendo 64 version of Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, I remember there definitely being a Resident Evil game for the Nintendo 64. I thought the first Resident Evil was released on that system. I could be wrong about that. I'm not too sure. But no. What I was saying though, C-Dub, was Resident Evil 4 was the first Resident Evil that was exclusive to Nintendo. So yeah, so it was a big deal. There was, like I mentioned a couple times already in the LP, there was a lot of hype behind it. For those of us who only had the GameCube and that's it, I mean, this was it. This was all we had to look forward to. I remember for a while really looking forward to Metroid Prime 2. And I remember the new Mario Kart game, Double Dash, took a while to release. I mean, there was only a handful of games that we really had to look forward to on that console. But this was the best game in the entire lifespan of that system, in my opinion. Probably with Metroid Prime being a close second. It's hard for me to even say that this is better than Metroid Prime, as we have found the golden egg. Excellent. But I do put this slightly past that game just because this is such a dense game. There's a lot to it. It's an extremely long game. It's very replayable, whereas Metroid Prime, if you replay it, it's really not going to give you any new content. This has a Mercenaries mode. It has the Ada Wong storyline that I mentioned. And there's just different ways to play it. You can play through it with infinite ammo if you upgrade all your weaponry. It's pretty fun to play through Resident Evil 4 with infinite rockets. Certainly changes up the style a little bit. Now, Corey, we have code blue here. Unfortunately, we are running very low on pistol ammo here. So we only have 20 bullets. We're going to have to make good use of that. And lucky for us, we have cleared out this area once again. Everybody kind of respawned. There were some items that were respawned as well. So we made sure to walk around and gather all of those. And I think we can go ahead and head into... let's check this big building here. I'm not sure if we got the right key for it. I think we might have. Yes, we have. Oh, no. Ah, yes. That's what I expected. So cool, we can now get inside here. I believe there is a typewriter, yes. So we'll go ahead and end this episode off for now. We have some pretty ominous areas to head into as we have opened up this main building. We had to do a lot just to get this crazy key to let us in here. Nice, some handgun ammo. And let's see what we have in the box. Some treasure. Corey, who knows what awaits us through this door?
Oh, man. It's going to be something crazy, dude. Before we end off this episode, man, real quickly, I just want to say, you mentioned two of your favorites for this console, being Resident Evil 4, as well as the Metroid Prime 2. One of my favorites, man, that we may have to cover here at some time. It's in the same vein as Resident Evil 4. Eternal Darkness. One of my favorite games of all time. Very, very, very trippy game. But maybe we'll talk a little bit more about how that game perhaps compares to the Resident Evil series in our next part of this playthrough. Guys, definitely make sure you stay tuned. We've got all kinds of awesome content on our channel. GTA 5, pro wrestling, sports, fantasy football, music, movies, television, video games, the whole 9 yards. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, tell a friend. As always, stay tuned and stay trippy, my friends.
All right, guys, I just wanted to grab the final medallions here in the farm area. And there's also a treasure we can grab right here, the Beerstein, which you can also add some jewelry to it to make it worth even more. So we just wanted to get that because we will be heading to the cemetery where we can find the remainder of the medallions and finally get the upgraded pistol, the Punisher. We'll see you guys in our trek towards the cemetery.